Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Hey everybody, it's Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast and the Let's Talk to Cutler video blog and the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club. That's funny that I said the broad class. I guess that's just the educator me. I've been used to spending so much time in the classroom for so many years. But I just want to thank you all for joining me. It's another Thursday and we are getting ready to share these 1800 seconds. And again, I want to talk about something that's motivational, something that's inspirational, something that challenges us to show up a little bit better than we did today. And it doesn't mean that today was bad or just non-productive, but every now and then we need to take the time to see what can I do to get ready for tomorrow. I always believe in preparing for the next day. I somehow want to look into the next day while I'm standing in this day. And I want to make sure that while I'm standing in this day, I want to ask myself, is there anything that I can take into tomorrow that's going to make me a little bit better than I was today? And then I do the same thing retrospectively. I look back and I ask myself, is there something that I did today that allowed me to show up better than I did yesterday? It doesn't mean that yesterday was a failure. It doesn't mean that yesterday was a flop or anything of that sort. It just means that I really take the time each day to be intentional and deliberate about trying to become better. And that's what this channel is all about. That's what this station is all about. And so I'm thankful that I have you all as a group of supporters, a group of family members and friends to encourage me and to motivate me and to challenge me. So I want you to tell everybody else, when you all come on to Talk to Cutler, expect to be inspired, expect to be motivated, expect to be challenged to show up better than you once were. Expect to be pushed to show up your best self, even in the worst of situations. That is really one of my mantras, you all. I stick to that. I always want to show up my best self, even in the worst of situations. And I'll tell you today, I was in a situation where we went to a memorial for a family member, and I was called at the last minute. I was called on the spot. And I'll tell you all in just a minute how I handled that. I just went, sometimes I like to show up at family events and family functions and remember the shoulders that I now stand on. But I like to do that in a very subtle way. I just like to show up and be quiet and just be still and just enjoy the moment. But when I walk into a room, I'm tall. So when I walk into a room, people there, they see that I'm there, and then they sometimes will put me on spot. But I'll get into that in just a moment. But listen, tonight we're going to talk about making decisions for difficult days. We're going to talk about planning and what it's like to make decisions. And I want to talk to us about our decision-making skills and our planning strategies. But before I do that, I want to shout out the LTTC VIPs, those who have made their way into the room, the chat room, before I really started. And so I want to say a special hello to our friend Marissa, who says hello, everyone. I want to say a special hello to our friend McDina, who says hi, all. And then I want to say a special hello to Lynn Gardner, who says hi. So again, it's just good to see everybody, and I'm thankful for being here just one more time. And again, Paula D, thank you, my friend. It's good to see you. We missed you the other day. I understand it was your birthday, and I was telling the friend, the family who were here online, that I hope she's off celebrating. You know, she introduced and shared her mother, her 100-year-old mother, with us, and so we wanted to take the time to say happy birthday to you. So for all of us who are now just joining, Paula says, hello, everyone. Thank you all for the wonderful birthday wishes. Greatly appreciated. Well, we think highly of you. We really, really do. Let's see. Linda says, good evening, everyone. Ordered Billboard's book for a friend in need. I haven't really pushed my books lately, and I guess at some point I'll get back to pushing those books. Once one person sent me a text message, sent me an email and said that she had ordered I forget which book it was in order, but the book that I wrote, We Don't Always Get It Right the First Time. She ordered that, Lessons for the Next Generation. And I see that some of you, Linda says she has ordered billboards, and someone else recently told me that they ordered billboards. I'm thankful that my gift of writing is becoming a gift to others. When you think about your gifts, you all think about your gifts as something um, that serves a purpose in somebody else's life. Every gift that you have is not for you. It is a gift because while it has been given to you, and it's been given to you for you to give away to others and for you to use for the strengthening and uplifting and the encouraging of others. And so, whatever gifts you have, and remember one day we talked about gifts. Maybe I'll come back and talk about that again. But in our last broadcast, I wanted everybody to know, and that thing rung. Um, it rang deeply within me that the world is better because I am in it. We sometimes miss that, but I wanted us to get the point that the world is better because you are in it. The creator had a plan when he brought you here, and the plan was for you to enhance what was here, for you to just add bling to and season and spice and diversity and difference to what was already here. And so please don't ever forget that. Don't forget the fact that the world is better because you are in it. I want to go in and talk about decisions for difficult days, you all. And that's just what I want to chat about this evening. So again, come on, if this is your first time, just make sure that you subscribe. And then after you subscribe, just click on the notification bell because it lets you know whenever I've gone live and whenever I have uploaded new content. I also want you to click on the thumbs up on the conversation because the thumbs up is really what says to YouTube that you like what that guy's talking about. But it also says to me that you're encouraged by the content that I offer. Today, I went to a memorial service for a family member who had lived a full 93 years, full wonderful years. And I was talking with one of the sons, and he was sharing with me how difficult of a process this has been, but it wasn't so difficult of a process. Emotionally, it has been a difficult process for him, and certainly those of us who have had to bury loved ones, we get that. But he was talking about all of the planning and some of the things that he had to do, and he did that with his mother and his other siblings. And I thought, wow, so often we forget that difficult days are coming, and difficult days are coming. And so I want us to be practical in our approach to life while we talk about, we talk about inspiring each other and motivating. The challenging part of what we share is how to stand in a moment, how to stand in a moment and absorb that moment and know that that moment is defining you for that time. But other moments are coming. And so, if this is a fantastic moment, if this is a great moment, or even if this is a not so great moment, this is a sad moment, that moment defines me then. It doesn't define the sum total of who I am. And so I have to look and I have to realize other moments are coming. And if this is a great moment, all moments will not be this great. And I have to plan for those moments that aren't going to be so great. And if this is a sad moment, I have to say to myself, you know what, I may have more than one of these in life. So let me start planning for those moments. So I want to talk about how do we make decisions for the difficult days that are going to come. I want to ask you all this. Do you consider yourself a good decision maker? Do you consider yourself a good decision maker? That's the question on the floor this evening. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being not so good and 10 being exceptional, how good of a decision maker are you when it comes to planning for the future? When it comes to planning for the future, how good of a decision maker are you, with 1 being horrible and 10 being excellent? Y'all talk to me because I want to see how you're ranking yourselves. And then sometimes just, on the spur of the moment decisions, I want to talk about that because sometimes we find ourselves in this position, or even if you don't find yourself in this position, you find yourself knowing people are in this position. And so that's who I want to talk to. I'm seeing the scores coming through. I want to know how you rank yourself on the spectrum of being a good decision maker, 1 to 10. How do you rank yourself? 1 is not good and 10 is being excellent. But again, today I want to talk to those of us who find ourselves. I want to talk to those of us who find ourselves in this position of having to make a decision, or knowing someone who has to make a decision. Good, good, good. I want to see these scores coming in. I see 8s and 6s and 8s and 6s and 7 and 8s and 7s and 8. Okay, good deal, good deal, good deal. Because listen to this, you all. when we think about making decisions, it's about working through a problem. So I want to talk to those of us tonight we see ourselves, we're working through a problem. Or Wendy, you see yourself as a one. Okay, my friend, we'll talk about that. But I want to talk to those of us who sometimes see ourselves as having to work through a problem, or facing uncertainties, or struggling with making decisions. Life is full of choices, and we make choices every single day. Every day we make choices. There is not a day when you don't make a choice. Cutler, what do you mean? Do I make choices every day? Absolutely, yes, because some choices are easy. Some choices are as simple as, what am I going to have for lunch? What am I going to have for dinner? What am I going to have for breakfast? Am I going to have steak? Am I going to have cheeseburger? Am I going to have pizza? Some decisions are just that simple, but others are more serious. Like, what am I going to do for this career? When am I going to retire? How much am I going to invest in my TSP or my 401k? Where do I want to move upon retirement? All of those are more serious decisions, a little more serious than what am I going to have for lunch. And one surefire way of getting stuck is when you can't figure out what decision to make. And it sounds simplistic, and I don't want to oversimplify this issue that I'm talking about, you all, because you know that when it comes to making a decision, if you cannot make decisions on the spot for simple things, then how inclined are you to be able to make decisions for more serious things? And we can sometimes get stuck because if we can't figure out what decision to make, then we find ourselves in this thing that's called a quandary, and we end up in a downward spiral. But regardless of how important a decision is, it is always a good thing to have good decision skills. It really is. We find ourselves having to make decisions. And you know, the interesting thing about making decisions, and this is why I wanted to talk about it, because when we have to make decisions, we experience all kinds of emotions. And I don't want us to experience the kinds of emotions that get us stuck. Some decisions don't require a lot of thought, but when they are a little more complex, you are prone to experience all kinds of emotions. Yes, Tracy, they can be tough, and these decisions will take you through the emotional whirlwinds of feeling overwhelmed. That's why somebody wrote a book about when I'm overwhelmed. I wrote that book. But then not only do we sometimes feel overwhelmed when we have to make decisions, you can feel stressed, you can feel anxious, you can feel pressured, you can feel confused, you can feel distracted, you can feel tired. All of those things all of those things are the emotions that we sometimes feel, that we experience when we have to make decisions. McDina, you're already in my head when you're talking about the pros and cons list. It is an absolutely useful tool when you have to make decisions. And so I want to talk about that because it has been said, and you all have heard this cliche, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That is a true thing. That is a true statement. And I wanted to share some tips for making decisions. Because indecision, when you are having difficulty making decisions, indecision can have a negative impact on how you feel. Let's see. Let me put my glasses on because y'all are saying a lot and I need to read them. Let's see. Paula D, thank you. Yes, it is our season. Aruba sounds like a nice place full of nice people. Oh, yeah. I see you're talking to somebody else there. If we make and unintentionally make a bad decision, we can use that as a lesson. Absolutely. Absolutely. There are lessons that we can learn because we're going to talk about making good decisions, bad decisions, good choices, poor choices, that kind of thing. But I just really want to offer tips to help us become a little bit better at making decisions. One of the things that I can first come out of the gate and offer you all is don't stress. Don't let stress get the better of you. When it's time to make a decision, do not let stress get the better of you. Try to manage your stress. It's easy to feel stressed out and anxious when you're facing a tough choice. It really is. It's easy to feel stressed out and anxious when you're facing a tough choice. So try to manage your stress. Try to manage your stress. If you're feeling anxious about a decision, try to manage your stress so that it doesn't cloud your thinking. When stress will cloud your thinking. So one of the things that I offer people is not to make a decision when you're on any gamut, left or right of the emotional continuum. If you're extremely happy, don't make a decision when you're extremely happy. If you're extremely sad, don't make a decision when you're extremely sad. Don't let your emotions get the better of you. Learn how to manage your stress. Learn how to manage your emotions when you have to make a decision. Because if you're blissful when you're making a decision and you come down off that cloud and you say, "Oh, did I do that?" Learn how to manage your stress when you're making a decision. Yes, this McDiner, I agree. No decision is a decision because you decided not to move, not to go forward, not to act in that moment. Yes, Tracy, I'm with you. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Easier said than done sometimes. And that is why we're having this conversation, my friend, because we're now talking about what things do I need to put in my arsenal so that I can stay ready. So when I'm ready to make the decision. Annie Cutler, it's good to see you this evening. Doug, it's good to see you as well. So think about that, you all. Tips for making for making decisions is what I want to offer. Make sure that you manage your stress. Try to manage your stress. And then something else that I want to talk about is give yourself some time. If at all possible, when you have to make a decision, you all give yourself some time to think about it, time to process it, time to think this thing through. It's hard to think clearly under pressure, and sometimes your first idea is not your best idea. Need I say that for the people in the back? Need I say it for us again? Sometimes your first idea is not your best one. So give yourself some time. Give yourself time to sit and think about it. Give yourself time to ponder. Give yourself time to let it marinate. That's what the old folk used to say. Just let it marinate for a while so you can process your options and feel confident about the course of action that you're finally taking. Give yourself some time. I don't want us to make any rash decisions because there's some things that we decided to leave in 2022 and some things that we're facing in 2023, and we're deciding how we're going to handle them, how we're going to process them, how we're going to experience them, how we're going to tackle them, how we're going to meander our way through those things. And as we're making those decisions, that's why we are having this conversation early at the beginning of the year, because there are decisions that await us. Decisions are awaiting us. And we want to be prepared so when it's time for us to make the decisions, we have at least strengthened our decision-making skills. One of the things we now remember is not to let stress get the better of me. Try to manage my stress is the first thing Cutler said. The second thing he said is give yourself some time. If it's possible, give yourself time and remember that your first decision is not always your best decision. It's not. McDiner just really stole my thunder because I'm a big proponent of the next thing that I would offer is to weigh the pros and cons. Because a lot of times when we're faced with this big picture, you all tell me if you've ever done this. When you're faced with a big picture, do you sometimes, when you're faced with a big decision, do you sometimes lose sight of the big picture? Like what is the ultimate goal? What is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What is it that I want to achieve? What is it at the end of this journey, at the end of the day, at the conclusion of the whole matter? What is it that I really, what narrative do I want to have been written? That is the goal. At the end of the journey, what narrative do I want to have been written? I gotta get ready. I have to gird up now for the decisions that await me in this year, Jay Song, for you. I got to do it. And I don't want to lose sight of the big picture. Maybe finances are the big picture. Maybe health is the big picture. Maybe relationships are the big picture. And we have to focus. Maybe my professional career is the big picture. I don't want us to lose sight of the big picture. So weigh the pros and cons. Think about your goals. Think about your values. When it's time to make a decision, don't do anything. Do not allow your decisions, do not allow your mouth to say or do something that your conscience is not clear about. Don't let your body, don't let your mouth do something that your conscience is not clear about. So think about your goals and think about your values. When you are faced with these decisions, you got to be true to yourself and you got to be true about the things that you value. Because when you factor into a decision the things that are important to you, the best option might become a little more obvious then. Let me see what's important to me in this situation. Is it important that I show up as being right all the time? Is that what's most important? Is the quality of my relationship, is that what's important? What's important? What do I value in the moment? That's what I've got to ask myself. I now have to make a decision, but let me not don't lock your values up in a box when you're making these decisions. I have to make a decision. I'm going to lock my values up in the box. I'm going to put my values and my ethics and my morals to the side. Absolutely not. They're all coming to the decision-making table with me. McDina, I understand. Sometimes we make those decisions. And we have to ask ourselves, okay, can I live with the decision that I make? That's about when I said Shay song for you. I said, don't let your mouth make a decision that your conscience is not clear about. Okay. Too many times I beat myself up. I'm going to guess that's Rachel. Why? Too many times I beat myself up when I make a bad decision. And you know what? There are lessons that we can learn. There are lessons. So I say this: don't beat yourself up when you make a bad decision. Ask yourself, what lesson can I learn? What is it that I now know that I did not know? So whenever you make what turns out to be a bad decision, I want to pause and handle that. Thank you for posting that, and thank you for your transparency. So I want to address that. A lot of times we beat ourselves up for making bad decisions, but ask yourself, when you make a bad decision or when you make what turns out to be a bad decision, because the truth of the matter is this: none of us will make a bad decision knowing that it's going to be a bad decision. We make a decision hoping that it's going to work out for our good, hoping it's going to yield us the fruit that we expected to get, right? That's what we do. But when we realize that it turns out to be a bad decision, don't beat yourself up, but ask yourself, what do I now know that I did not know? What do I now know about the situation that I didn't know? What do I now know about myself that I did not know? That's always a good question to ask. Don't dare beat yourself up. Life is a continuous classroom. We're learning. We are ever learning. Cutler, what else would you suggest when it comes to how to make decisions for the difficult days and the difficult times that are yet to come? Consider all of the possibilities. Think about all of them. Think outside of the box, because a lot of times we are so myopic. It means we don't see the big picture. We're focusing. We have tunnel vision, and that's what I see. I don't see anything out of my periphery now because I'm myopic. I'm tunnel vision. I have tunnel vision. I'm focused, and I don't see what's over here in the periphery. You can't do that. If you really want to be a good decision maker, consider all of the possibilities. And some of the options, may I say this, some of the options are not so obvious, because making a decision can result in several different outcomes, and not all of them are going to be obvious. They're not always obvious. So when you're considering these options, don't just list the positives and the negatives, but you want to think about the consequences, right? It's not just about the positives and the negatives, but what are the consequences here? Because now I need to consider the possibilities. And then the beautiful thing, as we do these Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we come together, and I always remind us to make sure that we are maintaining connectivity, that we are keeping our hands connected with somebody else. One of the reasons I offer that is because of this next step in terms of making sure that we are capable of making decisions for the difficult days. Here's what I suggest you all: talk it out. Excellent question, Lynn, and I'm going to pause and address that. Thank you, my friend, for posing that question. I love the fact. Thank you so much, Lynn, because what you just did reminds me. I want to encourage you all, when I'm having these conversations, whenever we're having these conversations, make sure that you just chat with me, because Lynn asked a question that no doubt some of us have thought about. What if the decision could be life or death, a life or death decision, and the wrong one could be someone's life? That's a serious question. That's a very serious question. And so now, Lynn, I think there's several pieces that I bring into the conversation. What if the decision could be life or death? That is when you have to say to yourself, given the resources and the tools that I have now, what's the best decision given where I am now? Let me weigh the pros and the cons. Let me look at the positives and the negatives. Let me look at the possibilities. And this is when you want to give yourself time. This is when you want to try to manage your stress. This is when you definitely want to consider the possibilities. And this is when you want to talk it out. Because what I understand is that many times some of us are handed the question mark. And we're asked, what's next? What do we do now? How do we continue beyond this point? And these are difficult decisions. You know, among those are things like when we have loved ones who are on life support. When we have situations and it's a matter of do I want to put them in the hospital? Do I want to put them in a nursing home? Do I want to put them in a rehabilitation center? Those are difficult decisions. And sometimes it is that kind of decision when you want to say to yourself, I'm not equipped to respond. But the reason you're asked is because now someone has tapped into one of the things that we talked about. And one of the things that we talked about, it says, talk it out. Because it could be helpful to get another person's perspective on your issue, especially if they have faced a similar decision before. So Lynn, that's what I would say, my friend. If the decision could be life or death decision and the wrong one could mean somebody's life, we don't go into these decisions saying I'm going to make the wrong choice. And a lot of times we have to say to people, listen, you're putting me in a difficult spot. You're giving me this difficult decision that I have to make, and I'm going to try to make it. I'm going to try to do the best I can. And sometimes we have to say to people, this decision is coming from the best place in my heart. So say it. Because a lot of times, and I've said this before, a lot of times people can accept your decision if they understand your why. They can digest your decision. They can digest your actions. They can digest your reply. They can digest your response if they can just digest your why. And many times we have to say, this is why I'm doing this. And sometimes you have to say, Lynn, in those decisions, you have to say, I don't know how this is going to turn out. But this is coming from my heart. This is coming from the best place in my heart. So if my how goes a little shaky, if my what goes off the beaten path, please understand my why. And a lot of times we have to say that. Jay Song for you says, how do I deal with my friends? How do I deal with my friends when they ask for my advice, but then try to get me to make their decision? I think we have to be, I so appreciate these questions. I think we have to be true to ourselves, Jay Song for you. How do I deal with my friends when they ask for my advice, but then try to get me to make their decision? I can't make the decision for you. And then we have to be very clear. We have to communicate. I cannot make this decision for you. This is not my decision to make. Now, if I have been in this predicament before, I can tell you what I did, and I can tell you how I feel about what I did. That's what I can do. I can tell you what I did. I can even tell you why I did it, and I can tell you about how I feel about what I did, but I can't make this decision for you. Especially these difficult decisions. What would you do if you were me? I can't do that. I can tell you what I would do if I were faced with this decision. I can't tell you what I would do if I were you, because we might process differently. And many times we have to be true to ourselves, you all. When people ask you this, what would you do if you were me? What they're really asking is, what would you do if you were faced with this decision? Well, if you were faced with the decision, then tell them, this is what I did, this is why I did it, and this is how I feel about the decision that I made. I don't know why three things just sometimes come to me so quickly, but that's how I would process it. And I would be very clear, Jay Song, for you, and say, I can't make that decision for you. Can't make that decision for you. And we have to be honest, you all, with the limitations of our humanity, with the limitations of who we are in relationships. And the limitation is that I can't make that decision for you. But when I give you my response, here's one of the things I can also give you. I can give you my promise that I'll stand by you when you make your decision. This is what I did. This is why I did it. And this is how I feel about what I did. Now, what I can do for you is to stand by you. I promise I can stand by you when you make your decision. Even if your decision is totally inapposite to mine. What should someone do if they are in it? You all are coming with these questions this evening, and I'm enjoying them. What should someone do if they are in an abusive situation? And K Sharp, I know the very first thing that I would say is probably easier said than done. First thing the first thing that I want to say is easier said than done. I would say get out, and I know that's easier said than done. But getting out is a series of steps. Getting out is strategic. Because sometimes in abusive situations, and I don't want to oversimplify this, because I know that sometimes, K Sharp, for you, that situation is life or death situation. And so that is why I stand in the position of being very delicate with how I offer this response. So when I say get out, getting out is strategic, because a lot of times getting out, color, is not as easy said. It's easier said than done, because getting out requires now my mental escape. It requires my psychological escape, because mentally I want to stay there. Mentally I'm still there. Mentally there's something, mentally and emotionally, there's something that may be comfortable in that situation, and not only comfortable, but it may be fear may have me gripped in that situation. And so my answer is, what should someone do? Get out, but get out strategically. Get out safely. Those two words, safely and strategically. Get out. If it means, and I'll go this far, K Sharp, even if it means to someone calling the authorities so that they can get out, I am such a proponent of safety. Strategy and safety, I am a big proponent of. But I know how fear can sometimes grip people. Fear can sometimes grip people. And so I'll hold on to those things strategically and safely. Linda, thank you. I wrestled with that, but I wanted to make sure that I'm giving responses that are from my heart, but that are also practical. We are, you all, in 2023, and I'll pause here, because in 2023, there are decisions that await us. And I want us to be ready to make these decisions. I want us to be ready for these decisions that yet await us. There are decisions that are going to open amazing doors for us. And I believe there are some decisions that are going to close doors that need to be closed. And I'm looking forward to standing on the threshold of those decisions. And as I said before, you all, when we see these challenging and not so good days and these problematic periods that come before us, we will say, as we have said at the beginning of this year, I'm thankful for this opportunity, this new opportunity to forge ahead. All right, do me a favor. Let's keep building community. Let's come back and round up this conversation again, and come back with all of these questions. I hope we can do more of this. I hope in 2023 we can do more of this, because I want us to have conversation and not just a one-way monologue, because I want to hear from you, and I want you to challenge me so that you can pull out of me. I want you to challenge me so that you can pull out of me and say, Cutler, I've been listening to you for a while. I want to hear more of what's in your heart. I want to hear more of your experience that you bring to the table. I want to hear more of what you've been through, that you really can offer us the lessons that you've learned. That's what I want to do more of in 2023. So thank you for these 1800 seconds plus this evening. Let's keep building community. Let's maintain connectivity. You all stay safe, stay sane, keep your heads up, keep your hopes up, and know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. And again, now, not only to Paula D, but to all of you who are experiencing and celebrating birthdays in January, happy birthday to all of you, in case I forget to say it again before the month is out. Listen, take care, and I will see you all next time. Good night.